Would you say that you've had a bit of a crazy 2024?
I'd say so, yeah. Been a bit everywhere this year.
Yeah, I mean, you've been wrestling in Newcastle, you've been in Tidal, you've been in True Grit. I'm sure there's places I've even missed there.
Yeah, I've been in Bolton, Blackheart, Kingdom of Wrestling, Kingdom Wrestling. Trying to think off the top of my head now. But yeah, there's been quite a few.
Wow. I suppose it keeps you busy, and that's what you like to do.
Yeah, no, it's good to keep busy. Otherwise, you're just sitting around like, oh, I want to wrestle.
And of course, the main was obviously UKW. We're obviously talking all about that and stuff like that. But as always, roll the intro. Now, of course, we're on Thursday. How's the week been?
Not bad, not bad. What about yourself?
Usual stuff, work, that type of thing. Nothing exciting, really.
No, I get you.
Yeah, stuff like that. I mean, anything exciting this week, or is it just usual stuff?
Just usual stuff. I've got a couple of shows coming up this weekend, but now I'm ready to wind down for Christmas now.
Are we all planned, though? Have you got everything planned for Christmas?
No. I've got I've got blueprints in my head, but the plans haven't actually gone in motion yet.
Are you kind of like a last-minute person like me?
Yeah, I do it with everything. When I studied with uni, I left all my assignments last minute. I leave all my Christmas shopping last minute. And you'd think I'd learn by now, but not really.
Obviously not. So yeah, I mean, obviously we're talking about you obviously in wrestling and stuff like that. So let's obviously start at the beginning, shall we, Leonie? How does it all begin?
So I used to watch it when I was younger. We used to go on holiday quite a lot, and when you wake up dead early to get to like the airport, it was always on. And I remember Stone Cold, I remember The Rock, and then I stopped watching it for ages. I didn't get back into it until Daniel Bryan retired in WWE.
Wow,
that was like a big chunk. But then I watched it every Sunday. My little sister got involved at UKW for a couple of sessions. She wanted to be a diva, and she grazed her elbow, so it wasn't for her. But since then, I went to a UKW show, and then a couple of years later, I moved out and thought, oh, UKW's up the road. It'll be good exercise. And here I am 6 years later.
Wow, what was that first bump like? I always ask a lot of people this.
It wasn't like a massive nightmare because I'd done martial arts before, but the next day, going to work, trying to get glasses from under the bar was a nightmare.
Oh dear. Like I said, you mentioned UKW. Now, obviously, UKW is obviously a big part of obviously this show because I've obviously talked to obviously some guys from UKW. One's obviously Sebastian Mercer, and somebody who I know you've faced very, very few times is Kirsty Love. What's it like working with Kirsty?
It's amazing. I think she's great. She's very scary though if you get on the wrong side of her. I've still got if I get enough of a tan, I've still got like a scar on my chest from where she's chopped me. So she's really nice unless you annoy her.
Yeah, I mean, we had her on the show. She's really obviously bubbly and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, you've obviously faced each other in UKW. There's also is it Kingdom Wrestlers? I know you faced each other in other places.
Yeah, we faced each other. It was at the time GT Ministries, but now it's Kingdom Wrestling. And we did a 2 out of 3 falls match for the Women's Championship.
Wow, awesome. And speaking of Kingdom Wrestling, you was actually a bit famous this week. You were on telly, right?
I was. That's absolutely mind-blowing. Luckily, they only used 20 seconds of the 3 minutes that they spoke to me because I'd have cringed at myself so bad.
Yeah, I remember watching it going, hey, that's Leonie Rose. I know who that is. Do you know what I mean? When you watch it, like, that's that person. I know that person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, all my family were like, you didn't tell me. And I'm like, I didn't know. I knew Kingdom were going to be on, but I didn't think I was going to be on.
Oh, dear. Were you nervous, though, obviously, being on, big, TV and technically?
Yeah, when they've got, a camera that's, this big pointing at you as well, you're like, right, don't mess up.
Yeah, awesome. So, sticking, obviously, with UKW and stuff like that now, you've obviously had so many great matches and stuff like that. What's some of, obviously, your highlights from UKW?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm going to have to go back in my brain to think about it. Facing Cliff Harrison on a showdown was one of my favourite matches. I got to face Paul Huberus. I turned face in that match. That was a lot of fun. The cage match with Nina Samuels, that was a lot of fun. obviously getting to win the title 3 times is like a massive opportunity, and I'm super privileged that they trust me to do that. So yeah, there's been quite a few matches.
Yeah, there's obviously I picked 2 out here because this is ones which stick out for me, and one's this one.
Oh yeah, with Sadie Gibbs. When she got announced, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to up my game by 1,000,000%. She looks so tough.
I remember watching your promo and you're going, I'm buzzing.
Yeah, I didn't keep my calm, but after like the initial shock wore off, I was like, right, time to up my game, time to be serious and face how I would anyone else opposite me.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. I mean, I've watched the match. It's on YouTube to watch free. Fans want to go check it out.
It's part of a tier list. You've got to subscribe. They've got like different tier lists where you can access the different content.
Okay, but I would definitely recommend that match. I mean, it's an incredible match. And the reason obviously I picked this next one out is because I was actually there in person for this. I mean, absolutely incredible match. You know what I mean? You're working with Kirsty, Lucy, Ruby Brocco, Nisa, and I love that match. But I also love the ending where you just sat in the ring holding the belt up. I'm like, this is awesome.
Thank you. Well, they were all on the outside trying to like climb on top of each other to get back in. So I was like, I'm gonna sit down. I'll make it easy for you if you get in the ring. And they didn't get in.
Yeah, it was definitely an incredible match and stuff like that. I mean, for obviously people obviously not listening, give a little bit of insight. Obviously, what UKW is obviously about and stuff.
Give people insight about UKW.
Yes.
They put out 2 weekly shows. They've got Monday Night Ignite, which is more for like your up and coming wrestlers, and then you've got Friday Night Showdown, where like the main guys who go on the pay-per-views are on, and then once a month they have a big pay-per-view that's streamed on so many different services. I don't even know where to begin. I think recently they got on Amazon Prime, which I think is really cool. But yeah, 2 weekly shows and then a monthly pay-per-view.
Yeah, there's some incredible people there and stuff like that. I mean, like I said, obviously you got yourself, Kirsty, we've spoke about, Sebastian Mercer. I mean, there's so many great talent coming out of UKW.
There really is, and because I've been there, not the longest, but because I've been there 6 years, and then you see people come and go. It's good seeing people develop.
Yeah, but what about you obviously developing as a character and stuff like that? Because I always say that to be a good character, you've got to have face and heel, and I feel like you work at both really, really well.
Oh, thank you. I don't feel like I'm the best face. I definitely enjoy being heel a lot more. I like being a bit of a cheeky person.
And why is that? So you can get away with so much more?
Yeah, pretty much. It's fun to wrestle as a face, but doing character work as a heel is a lot more fun.
Everyone says heel. I don't know why there's a heel.
It's just fun letting out your inner delinquency, I guess.
Is it challenging though when you've got like a family type show because you know you can't like swear? You're like yeah, I'm not going to swear.
Well, because I did UKW for so long, and that's always been like a PG family show, unless special circumstances. I got used to not having like not swearing and not doing that, so I just be as childish as the kids. Stick my tongue out of them, go nah, and pull hair and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And one of the things obviously I like about you as well is no matter where you are, you always get a really, really good crowd reaction. What's that like for you personally?
So especially if it's a new place, if I'm behind the curtain, I'm so nervous. So when I walk out, I don't expect anyone to know who I am, especially if it's out of the area. So when people get behind me, it's like, oh, you really like me or you really don't like me. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah, definitely. We'll talk about obviously the promotions you've obviously showed up in, and I've got the first one for the image. How did this all come about?
Oh, I know, that's crazy. When I got approached by Wrestling in Newcastle, I think it was Ivy that recommended me, or Rich, the referee. I know people had recommended me for it, and they wanted me to be part of it. And because I'd worked Ivy in Elevation like a month prior, it was good to work with someone that I knew, because then I wasn't as nervous.
Yeah, I mean, she's really, really good. How did you deal with the Karen part? Did you manage it all right?
I think so. I was just like, oh my gosh, what have I walked into? But funnily enough, over lockdown, when I was trying to get better as a heel, Ivy was someone who I watched on YouTube. So it's weird how like full circle that was a little bit.
Crazy, everything comes in full circle, right?
I'd say some things definitely. You look at where you started and like who you watched, and then you look at where you are now, and you're like, oh, as if this is my life.
Absolutely. The other one which caught my eye and I completely forgot about it was True Grit. How did that all come about?
So it was meant to be Zizi and Lana Austin, and I think Lana had to pull out for whatever reason. So they'd messaged me the day before asking if I was available because, again, Ivy had said that, I was a good worker, but I was already booked at UKW. So I begged and plead, please, can I go on later? Please, is there any way around I can do True Grit as well as UKW? And they put me on later in the show. So I literally did True Grit, left, got an Uber, turned up, and then had to walk out and do a match.
Wow. And I bet at the end of the whole day, you were absolutely shattered.
Yeah, I was ready to get him. I think I had another 2 matches that weekend as well, actually.
Wow. How the hell did you keep going through all that?
I don't know, a lot of Monster and a lot of support from my boyfriend.
I love the fact you said Monster. Go on, what's the go-to flavour?
I like the pink one. I don't know what it's called, but I know it's pink.
I like the purple one. It's Punch, I think it's called.
Okay, yeah. I like the Aussie lemonade one as well.
As if we're like 11 minutes in there, we're talking about bloody Monster.
Sometimes I'm partial to a Red Bull, though, if there's not many options of Monster.
Yeah, I don't mind Red Bull.
Usually that's the last case, or I just need energy. I don't care about flavour.
And of course, the final one, and obviously, which I saw the match for, thanks to Wrestling Jeebus, was of course you at title against Alfie. I love that. That was a really, really good match.
Thank you. Again, working in Tidal's something that was always one of my goals because I'm from Huddersfield and Tidal's in Huddersfield, so it was absolutely amazing being able to walk down the street and go, I know where I'm going.
Yeah, and again, it's crowd reaction as well. I mean, that's one thing that always sticks me. Obviously, when I watch your matches, the crowd reaction you get and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And it's like I said, it's going to be one of the nicest things for you.
Yeah, definitely. If it wasn't for the crowd and the fans, I've said this before, we just look like a bunch of weirdos in the ring. But because of the fans, we won't be able to do what we're doing. So I was trying to interact with them as much as possible, whether I'm a heel or a face.
Yeah, definitely. Stuff like that. So I want to take a few steps back and talk about your in-ring style because it is really, really unique. Talk about developing that over time.
What, my wrestling style?
Yes.
At first, I wasn't really sure who I was as a wrestler, but then I used to do martial arts and I got my black belt, and I was like, oh, I used to be really good at kicks. I know, I'll just kick everyone's head off, and yeah, it's kind of developed into throwing a lot of kicks.
Literally kicking each. Wow, yeah. I don't even know what to say to that. To be honest, I think you kind of stumped me there.
No, just it's like having a scrap, though, isn't it? I just love it. I don't know. But then it can vary if I'm working intergender. It can vary on if I'm working someone bigger or smaller than me.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said intergender wrestling because we are seeing that obviously a lot more. Obviously, in the UK scene as a whole. I mean, I've seen your matches, like I said, with Cliff and stuff like that. I mean, what's it like? What's your personal opinion on that? Because I know some people don't actually like that type of stuff.
I mean, that's fine. I enjoy it. Every time I get to work with a guy, I'm just work me like one of the lads, honestly. I'm going to hit you really hard, so I don't expect any different. And there's ways you can work it and ways you can put the story across. So I don't have an issue if it's done properly.
Yeah, like I said, I just know that when obviously people say, "Oh, intergender matches," is oh, I don't like this. I'm like, it's personal preference. I think that's probably the best way to describe it, really.
Yeah, definitely.
And stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, have you had any injuries and stuff like that? I imagine you have.
I've never had anything serious. I've had nothing broken or dislocated, touch wood. I've got a few chipped teeth. I remember facing Alfie once and then a headbutt gone wrong. My tooth's still wobbly from it, and I think she's still got a scar on the top of my head from where my tooth went into her head. But apart from your usual bumps and bruises and lumps and bumps here and there, nothing too serious, no.
That's great. Because some people are yeah, I'm rocking my foot and stuff. I'm like, what the hell, really?
No, I don't know what I'd do. I think people who break anything in matches and then carry on and then just go about the business, I don't know. I'd just pass out, I reckon. I'm not one for burns or anything like that.
Well, like I said, you've had no serious injuries, so keep it that way, so shall we?
Yeah, definitely. Touch wood, fingers crossed.
So this next question is obviously a recent one I've been asking a lot of people is, what's the biggest thing wrestling's taught you as a person? It could be in the ring, it could be outside the ring.
That's a really good question. What has wrestling taught me? It's given me a lot more confidence and it's helped me believe in myself more as a person. I don't know if that's necessarily down to me doing it or the support of UKW, for example, around me, but it's definitely given me a lot more confidence. This is super random, but I'm scared of flying. I went on holiday recently and I was like, oh, well, if I can go to like these new places with all these really big named wrestlers, then I can get on a plane. So it helps me manage day-to-day life.
Yeah, and the one obviously I hear a lot as well is teamwork. Do you know what I mean? It's like a team job to build like a
Yeah,
wrestling show.
yeah, it is definitely. From everyone backstage to who you see in the ring, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, there's so many great people at UKW. I mean, John Cedric as well. I mean, I just realized I had Joe Cedric on the show. So, what's obviously Jonathan like? 'Cause, I mean, I've not really seen him as a person.
Um, I think John's great. I've known him for 6 years now, and like he's open to ideas. You can pitch stuff to him. I think he's great. He's one of the people that like took me under his wing when I first started. Him and Monty were like the two people that took me under the wing when I first started. So I owe a lot to him and Monty.
Yeah, absolutely, and stuff like that. So, I'm going to throw you another little curve question. So, for fans who's obviously not familiar with yourself, why should fans go check you out? This is kind of like a way to promote yourself a little bit.
You should come check me out because if I'm a heel, then I'm going to bully you lots, and it'll be the best bullying you've had in your life. If I'm a face, I'll be a hero you can get behind. And if you want to see some really cool kicks, I can provide that, and I'll take anyone on.
I think that's probably the best one I've ever had. I will be honest.
It's one of those, you know, when you do like icebreaker questions, and someone goes, "What's your favorite song?" and then you forget every single song that's existed.
Yeah.
When you said that, I was like, "How do I promote myself?"
It stumps a lot of people. And I don't actually know why. It's just one of those questions, you know what I mean?
No, it's one of those, isn't it, where like you're like, "Oh, I'll have all these really good answers," and then you get asked it, and you're like, "I've forgotten everything."
Dear. So, talk a little bit about like before you obviously go out to perform and stuff like that. Do you have any like rituals and stuff?
Um, I don't think so. I do a lot of like deep breathing. I don't get. It depends on where I am, but I don't get super nervous unless like the curtain's right in front of me because I try not to think about it. Otherwise I'd probably just run away. But I do a lot of deep breathing. I like talk to myself in my head, like you've got this, you've done this, like however many times. It's the same when you're in the ring. So yeah, just a lot of talking to myself mentally and deep breaths.
I'm glad you said talking to yourself mentally because some people's like, yeah, I just talk to myself. I'm like, what?
No,
Uh,
in my head. Everyone will be listening to me like, what are you saying?
I don't even know what to say anymore.
It's the Leonie podcast. Welcome to the episode. Not the podcast.
Like I said, if it goes off the rails, it goes off the rails. Who cares?
Yeah. That's unpredictable.
It's best way though, right?
It is.
There you go. So one thing we've not talked about is obviously women's wrestling in the UK. Now, there's so many great talent. I could spend a whole hour and stuff like that. I mean, what's your thoughts? Obviously, like I said, there's so many great women in the obviously the UK scene as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, what was obviously you're part of that as well. What's that like for you?
It's mind blowing when you get to be on shows with people like Ivy and like ZZ, and you see these people again who I used to watch for like inspiration. It's absolutely mind blowing. I never like considered myself as part of that group. So hearing you even say that, I'm like, oh, that's a mega compliment. Thank you.
Not a problem, not a problem, stuff like that. And like I said, there's so many great people to obviously even learn from as well. Do you know what I mean? As people come to you and asking you for advice?
They do, yes, and like that little like part of me is like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I try and advise people as best as I can. And there's a way you can give advice to people that's not horrible as well, because we've all been new, we've all started out. So yeah, again, when people ask me for advice, I'm like, oh, you want my opinion? Great, and then I try to advise them as best as I can. But wrestling's also oh, what's the word? It's open to like interpretation. So what one person thinks work, another person might not, and they might do something a different way. So I think that's what's cool about it.
Absolutely, and stuff like that. What would you say the biggest misconception is about wrestling as a whole?
That people think it's fake and that it doesn't hurt. I think it was I think Goldberg was on like Top Gear or Grand Tour, whichever one, and he said if wrestling was fake, we'd get stunt doubles to take the moves for us, but it's us. We're taught how to like do everything safely, but it's still our bodies that we're putting on the line.
Absolutely, and like I said, it's the risk every time you're walking out there. It's a risk. You know what I mean? You're performing, yes, you get that, but there's still always that thing. Are you going to get injured and stuff like? Because technically, it is your life in a way.
Yeah, no, definitely. And if you get injured doing something, that might be like something that's with you then for the rest of your life. You might heal, but you might have issues for the rest of your life. So yeah, it's a massive risk.
Absolutely, and stuff like that. So, obviously, being a wrestler and stuff like that, do you get a chance to watch wrestling from like a fan's point of view?
Sometimes I try and like keep up to date with stuff and like watch clips here and there, but it's been a while since I've like sat down and watched a full wrestling show.
Are you more like a clips type person?
Yeah, I don't know what's happened, but my attention span's not the greatest.
AEW or WWE then?
Is this going to cause like controversy? I'm more WWE, but I think it's just because of that's what I was brought up with, and it's always been around, hasn't it? But AEW still are good in their own respect as well, so I watch a bit of both.
It doesn't cause controversy. I just ask everyone that, and surprisingly, everyone says WWE anyway. So,
oh, do they? Okay. So
don't worry.
There's like a big discussion, an online discussion between AEW fans and WWE fans, isn't there?
Yeah, it is. That's why I tend to stay away from that because it really does drive me mad.
Yeah, wrestling's wrestling at the end of the day. We should all enjoy it for what it is.
I wish everybody had followed that though. Let's be honest.
I know it'd be a lot nicer, wouldn't it?
It would. It would. So, obviously, in your spare time and stuff like that, obviously not wrestling. Do you do like general stuff like play games or that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I play games. I read a lot. I've got myself a Kindle. I start uni again in September.
Oh, what are we doing?
I am getting my master's in forensic psychology.
That just sounds posh. I'm not going to be.
It does. It's just psychology in like a criminal situation.
Are you planning something?
No, but I find the brain really interesting. So I like getting to know people and being like, so why did you do this? I don't know. I just get really interested in it.
You could ask a wrestler that. So why did you do this?
Yeah. But funnily enough, some of the stuff that you study in psychology can be applied to wrestling.
Oh, tell me more. I'm curious.
So like you've got your there's ways on how to put on a match and your psychology in wrestling. So when you take it from your academic studies and you're trying to question why would this person do this? What's the situation for this? That critical thinking can apply into wrestling. In my opinion, I might just be an overthinker.
I mean, it is a plausible thing. Do you know what I mean? You're kind of on point there a little bit.
Well, people always ask, "Oh, where'd you get your psychology from?" I'm like, usually my university books.
And I bet that's going to be challenging, though, trying to juggle wrestling and obviously university as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm really grateful for that, this 10-month break that I've got, because I can focus a bit more on wrestling. But yeah, doing a weekend of wrestling and then having to catch up on all your work, it frazzles you a little bit.
So I imagine that you don't get much time to yourself then.
I do on evenings, but no, it's pretty hectic at times. But I managed it. I got my bachelor's, so hopefully I can manage it for one more year.
I'm sure you can. Do you know what I mean? You've done wrestling for like so many years.
I do, yeah. But only done my degree for like 3-4 years.
Okay, that kind of stumped me again.
I'm just hoping that I can get through this and be like, okay, I've got my studies and I've got my wrestling.
I have faith in you. I'm pretty sure you can.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Dear. So obviously, once you come back from a match and stuff like that, how do you wind down after a match?
I just sit there and I'm like, have a lot of water and just process what's happened. But then I end up with loads of energy because I've got all the adrenaline as well.
So I imagine you're like your own worst critic in a way.
Yeah, definitely. If I watch myself back, I'm like, oh, your foot was out of place here, your hand looked weird. Yeah, I pick up on like loads of little things on myself.
Wow. Every single person says that, by the way. Do you know what I mean? The fact that they're their own worst critic, I'm like, these are just common things. You know what I mean? We do it. That's obviously the same like in real life as well. Do you know what I mean? You can be a critic at anything.
No, definitely.
And stuff like that. So, just a general question. Come on, what's some of your favourite music? Just out of curiosity.
So I've got a very like wide taste of music, but growing up it was very Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, Black Sabbath, you know, like that like classic rock type of stuff.
Go on then, what's your favourite Bon Jovi song? Because I'm a massive Bon Jovi fan as well.
Oh, that's a really good question. I can say my favourite 2 albums are Keep the Faith and These Days, and I think like most of the songs on those 2 albums are bangers, but I like If I Was Your Mother, Dry County, you've got me. I'm thinking of all the songs now. Yeah, those 2 are pretty good. Dry County is really cool because it's like a 10-minute song and it's just Richie doing crazy guitar solos. It's great.
Wow. The little 10 minutes that long. Jesus, I think the Iron Maiden one I know is like 13 minutes.
Yeah, you've got November Rain, haven't you, from Guns N' Roses too? It's like 8-9 minutes long.
Yeah, and the thing is though, you've got to listen to the whole thing. You can't skip it. You've got to listen to the whole song.
Yeah, you'll miss out on all like the emotional impact if you skip bits.
Dear, and stuff like that. So a few little more questions obviously begin to wind down and stuff like that. You've done so much obviously in 2024. Do you know what I mean? What's obviously next for you in 2025?
Well, this year, including this weekend, I've done 85 matches and I've held 3 titles this year. Next year, I want to get 100 matches. Titles, I'm not like fussed about beating like that, but it'd be cool to get more. But yeah, I want to get over 100 matches next year.
85 matches. Jesus Christ. How many is that like a week? Is that like 4 or 5?
I don't know what it averages out to, but yeah, I usually wrestle like 2 times a week, minimum 3-4 times on a busy weekend. Sometimes 5, but that's rare.
Wow. Massive applause here. Everyone was like wrestlers 2. You're wrestling 5.
Like maybe like once every 3 months or something, but yeah, sometimes 3 and 4 more regularly.
Wow. So you've obviously ticked a lot of promotions off this year. Is there any promotion you'd like to get to next year?
I'd like to go back to True Grit. I think the promotions that I've been at this year, I'd like to go back to more often next year. So like Wrestling in Newcastle, True Grit, I'd like those to be hopefully more than just a one-off opportunity.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. I mean, True Grit's awesome. Wrestling in Newcastle. I'm obviously good friends with obviously the Benji and stuff like that. So I might put a cheeky word in. You never know.
And appreciate that. Feel like that, Leonie Rose.
I remember mentioning obviously Leonie Rose to one at Stevie Aaron, the ring announcer and stuff like that. And then surprisingly, he ended up on the Summertime Show. I'm not taking credit for that. I'm just saying.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. And then obviously you got Tidal as well. I think everyone wants you to go back at Tidal. I'm sure.
Yeah, I can just come out and be like, I'm from Huddersfield. We're in Huddersfield. It's great.
I know when I'm going. Hello.
Yeah. No, Tidal's amazing, and hopefully I'll be back there next year as well.
Of course, of course. So we'll plug obviously your 2 upcoming matches now. Obviously, you sent me the image for this. I'm going to start with the one on Sunday first because I'm really curious about this one.
Okay.
That's this one.
Yep. The Christmas stocking match.
Now, you said to me before the show, what does this entail? Please go ahead.
So, you know the Christmas stockings that you put above your fireplace?
Yep.
We're going to have one of those each on his hand. And then we've got to try and get it off the other one. And if we get it off the other one, so if I get it off Horace, I'll win.
That could be a long.
If he gets it off me, then he wins.
This could be a long or short match, depending.
No, I reckon it'll be short. I'll just go, can I have it, please? And I'll bat my eyelashes, and he'll go, yeah, no problem. And then I'll win. That's what I'm planning to do. Horace, if you want to, ignore that.
Why just tape it to your hand? I mean, technically, that's not cheating.
No, and they wouldn't. Oh, that's a really good idea. Oh. If it doesn't come off, I'm like, what's happening? I don't know.
It's a bit stuck. You see, it must be tight. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it's shrunk in the wash. It's stuck to my arm now.
There's a little thing for you there.
Yeah.
And of course, the big one. I mean, obviously, you faced Alfie so many times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Alfie. I mean, what can we expect with this match? Like I said, you faced each other so many times.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, plug it. Go ahead.
I'm the number 1 contender. It's for the Bolton Women's Championship. Dee Dee's going to probably be involved. I might kick the bear across the room. I might not. You'll have to turn up and find out.
Did you start the Kill the Bear chant?
I did not, but if it's a thing, I'm happy to go along with it.
Kill the bear. What about opponent-wise? Is any people obviously you'd like to face?
I'd love to face someone like Lana Austin. I know Alexis Falcon's out at the minute, but whenever she's like healed and better, facing her would be an amazing opportunity. Liz Eva would be great. But then if I ever got the opportunities, I'd be like, oh my gosh.
You won't panic, would you?
Not outwardly. I'm very good at masking. I'm very good at keeping everything internal.
Oh, dear, this has been an absolutely incredible chat and stuff like that. Obviously, like I said, it's the final one for 2024. For people obviously listening who's thinking about getting into wrestling and stuff like that, what would you say to them? What advice would you give to them?
Honestly, do it. It's the greatest thing that I've probably ever done for myself. You make a lot of good friends. You've got a good team around you. The teamwork that you learn is great, and it gives you a lot more confidence in yourself. It just sucks for a little bit whilst you get used to the bumps, but after that, it's great. I promise.
How long did it take you to get used to the bumps?
Maybe like a week or a couple of weeks. But again, it wasn't like the impact that hurt. It was the getting up the next day. Like I remember my first ever session. I woke up the next day and was like, "Have I broken my neck?" I couldn't, like, Batman in the early Batman films where he couldn't turn his neck because his suit wouldn't let him. I felt like that.
That's awesome. What was it like? Obviously, with your first match, you remember that? Your first ever match?
I do. Well, my first show was a referee, but my first match, I think I was a face for that. I didn't have like proper gear or anything. I was so nervous. I think my first match was with Freaky Felicia as well, actually. And she was great. She got me through it. I just remember being really nervous and being like, as if I've done that.
Yeah, Freaky has been on the show as well. And, very, very unique individual, I'll be honest.
Yeah, definitely. She's certainly a character.
Yeah, I had them both, and I had Axel as well, and it's probably one of the most freakiest shows I've ever done.
That doesn't surprise me.
Dear. So I'm gonna also give the fans a little spoiler. So next year, I'm gonna have Sadie Gibbs on the show. So what if you could ask Sadie Gibbs one question, what would it be?
When are we having the rematch?
Oh, straight to the point. I love it.
You put me on the spot there again. I forgot how to form a question, but yeah, when can we have a rematch? That's probably the question I'd ask her.
Okay, so when she's on the show next year, I will put that question to her and I will tag you in it as that.
Okay, and I'll be like, hide.
Leonie, this has been absolute incredible chat. Do you know what I mean? Thank you so much. You've been on my list ever since I've started doing these. You know what I mean? So one off my bucket list. Before we head off, anything you want to plug yourself besides what we talked about?
Follow me on Leonie Rose PW on Instagram. Twitter, I'm not really on, and same with TikTok, but I am on all them. And Leonie Rose on Facebook.
Yeah, Twitter seems to be really, really toxic lately.
Yeah, I've got the app. Like, if people tag me in things, so I can interact with stuff, but I just go on it to like post stuff.
Yeah, it's a really. I tend to like post obviously things with the show and stuff like that, but I tend to stay off it because it is really, really horrible. I see some of the comments going, "What the hell?"
No, I ain't heard good things. No, mostly on Instagram or Facebook.
There you go. It's definitely Instagram. I'd say recommend Instagram more than anything.
Yeah, at Leonie Rose PW.
Of course. And stay tuned, because I'm sure she will be. You never know where Leonie's going to pop up next year. That's all we're saying, right?
This is it. I don't even know, so I'll stay tuned as well.
Dear. Any final words before we head off?
Thank you all for watching, and thank you for having me on the show.
No problem. It's always a pleasure. Cheers for watching, guys.